Okay, so welcome back to COSGC Soldering 101. This is video part 2 where we're going to actually be doing the soldering. But before we start, again, just a reminder, we got to take off any jewelry that we have, and that includes necklaces, earrings, as long as they're not too dangly, I think would be fine. Like stud earrings probably would be great. But we get that. My glasses, I have to wear them because I can't see. So I'm gonna be wearing these, which kind of accommodate glasses. Highly recommend them. If you don't need your glasses to see up close, then you should be fine with just the safety glasses. Also going to get my long, luscious locks put up this time with one of these. And then, yeah. So just as a quick aside, we're going to talk about this. No horseplay in any work environment like this is a number one leading injury causer on a lot of construction sites and workplaces. So we won't be doing that. No lightsabers with iron, soldering irons, or chasing people with scissors. Usually a bad idea. But other than that, we're going to get into soldering. So, fun fact, we just slipped into a parallel universe where I actually followed the reference designs like I told you guys to, and I totally didn't put it on backwards. So, like we said, right, it's got the leads going opposite directions and it's not letting gravity fall. And then we got the little dimple here that's on the housing that's on the board, so that's matched up and everything's great. So, going from here, what we're going to do is, because we're going to solder the housing last, so what we'll do next is we'll do the resistors. So first, when you do the resistors, you're gonna see this is the 120. You can tell it's 120,000 because it's got yellow, red, brown with a gold band at the start. And we'll hit you with a resistor chart that will explain the bands, because it goes by levels and those levels are connected to numbers, and that's how you figure that out. But when we put this on the board, we're going to go like so, kind of bend it down in this manner, and then we will put that here, press it down, make sure it kind of lines up with that reference design that we are totally following every time. Bend leads the opposite way, and then boom, it won't be falling out either. Now at this point, we will be soldering this. So what we'll do is we'll put it on our handy helper, and then we'll take our solder, right? We'll take about maybe that much for this kit. It doesn't really need this much, but it's good to have extra just in case of any hiccups, which can happen and probably will happen, especially when you're working late on a late night project. Now, that being said, we got that. We're gonna grab our soldering iron, make sure it's clean with the brass wool. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a soldering iron and we're gonna go to this left joint and we're going to touch the soldering iron onto the lead, not the board, but the lead, and push the solder in like so. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the next side. Remember, always have good ventilation when you're doing soldering, like we do. Anyway, now that we have those soldered, we are going to trim these down. Do the other side. And boom. Now we're going to do the next resistor. Again, we'll bend the resistor down in this manner. You can see this is a 33K ohm resistor because it's got 3 orange pieces. And we'll take our breadboard. It's not a breadboard, fuck. And we'll be taking our board and put it like so, press it down, pull the leads on opposite sides, and we'll put it on our handy helper. And then this is the same procedure as last time. Get the soldering iron, make sure it's clean in the brass wool. put the tip of the soldering iron at the site on the lead. Feed it solder until you get it. Try not to linger the iron on the board itself as long as possible, because that is a great way to cause damage to the circuitry. We don't want that. And then boom, get both of those, clean off the soldering iron, and trim the bits. Trim the bits. Boom. And boom. All right, from here, we're going to take one of the LEDs, and the LEDs are going to have two leads, one shorter than the other, and that shorter lead should also have a flat bit at the edge of the colored LED piece. That should be your negative. And you can follow the reference design here, where you can put the longer one in the positive, the smaller one in the negative, and you'll see that it lines up with that flat part of the LED. And then we'll bend the leads like we've been doing. And then we will put it on the handy helper. And then we will put the iron there. And then boom. And do the same thing. And then boom. Clean it off. Trim it. It's really important to have good tools when you're doing this, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So we'll do the next LED, same thing, long lead to the positive, short lead to the negative, follow the diagram on the board, press the leads opposite sides. And then we're going to solder it. It's kind of just a rinse and repeat process when you're doing this kind of stuff. It's kind of like when it's past the midterm, but still got to do all these other projects, and you're just really tired. Soldering can be like that sometimes. It can be a bit of a slugfest, or it can be like when you have to make a glider for a project and it works perfectly the first try. It's kind of more rare, but it can happen as long as you practice. Trim them. Don't do that. Don't do what I just did. Okay. And then we should be there. This point is a pretty good time to probably talk about the solders. So some of these are pretty good, like these resistor points here are pretty good. And the LEDs are kind of misshapen due to how the leads were. But these guys over here for these resistors also have kind of lead situation, but they're also pretty bulbous, so that might be a weaker soldering joint than these ones. And if you take a look right now, you can see a chart that explains what a good acceptable soldering joint is versus various examples of bad ones, both for structural reasons or if it's just kind of not actually holding anything, which can happen. Ideally, you want a Hershey's Kiss, like the chocolate, but it will just be dependent on practice and just attention to detail. But what we're going to do next is we're going to get the capacitor. Same thing as LED, long leads positive, short leads negative. And then we'll push that in. It's a little harder to do that for capacitors, to get them flush with the board just because of how their leads work. But we'll get it as far down without forcing it. And then we will send those leads opposite ways, and we're going to solder this. Touch the lead. Okay. All right, well, what just happened now is there's a bit of too much solder added into this, right? And this is an example of one of the bad joints, because what we'll have to do is we'll use our sucker and our soldering iron. And unfortunately, this is a short, so we need to fix that. Boom. Now, one joint looks pretty decent, but the other one looks like it needs a little bit more. So we're going to add just a little bit more. And there we go. Clean that off in the brass spool. Take this, fold them up a bit. Seems to be helping with the clippers. Clip off the leads. And then I guess we will do the ground and the 9-volt for our power source. The red wire is going to be our 9-volt, and our black wire is going to be our ground. Fold those, put that in the handy helper. And honestly, this is getting to the point with the solder that this is not enough for me to safely work with, because my hand's gonna be too close, and like I could probably get like half of this down, but then my fingertips are gonna be pretty close to touching the iron. So don't do that. Just throw that away. Go get yourself some more solder. There's usually plenty of solder on the roll. Enough to accidentally do that. Where is the end? Hello? What is happening? Okay. There's a kink in that one. This much. So you got your new solder. Perfect. Take the iron. And we're just gonna do what we've been doing. Put the soldering iron on the lead, add solder, do it for the next point, and then boom. Brass wool, trimmers, and now, last but not least, we gotta solder in the little microchip like. We're just gonna do what we did. So these are smaller leads, so carefully. This is easier with a fine tip. Put solder in from the lead, do it for the next one. And that's a pretty good Hershey kiss there. Next one. Okay. We'll do that for the next row. Perfect. And now, second to last step, we take our chip from our little guy. We look for the little circle on it, right? So we find that when we look at this, and we know from the reference design originally that the divot for the container needed to be to the left, but also there was a circle below the left divot. And that means that this ship needs to sit like this. Let me press it in. Make sure it's snug. And then we just gotta power it to see if it works. Okay, so we found a battery. Now it's the moment of truth. Will it work? It will. Ding, 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 ding. Thank you for coming and watching our TED Talk. Goodbye.